This question is obviously about lines. They say it in the question right out of the gate. It's not hard. But if you don't know the rules for lines, if you haven't memorized all the different facts, then you're basically just screwed. There's nothing you can do. You're not going to get this question right. You have to just guess and move on. But if you know the rules, which you should because they come up very often on the SAT, then we are in good shape. Because we know that we're going to need a line with an equation y equals mx plus b. And we know that the b is the y-intercept, which we are told is negative 13. So that can go in that spot. We also need a slope, right? And we know that the slope of this line is perpendicular to this other random line. So we need to know how to find perpendicular slopes. Well, the rule is it is the negative reciprocal of the other slope. So that's a fancy way of saying flip the fraction, reverse the sign. Flip it and reverse it. So we take that negative 2/3, we flip the fraction to get 3/2, and we reverse the sign so negative becomes a positive. So negative 2/3 is the slope we started with. The perpendicular slope would be 3/2, 3/2. And so now we've got an equation of a line. Y equals 3/2 x minus 13. What's the last step? Well, they told us that a point is in that line or on that line, and so we should just plug it in because that's what we do. The only thing that we haven't plugged in yet is the x and the y. And people forget that a y equals mx plus b equation has 4 components. There's the slope and the y-intercept, the two that we work with most of the time. But then x and y represent all the points on the line. So if we're given a point that's on the line, we can always plug in those x and y coordinates. So let's do that here. B is the y, and x is 10. So now it's just some arithmetic. So the way I would do this is I would do 10 over 1. And when you multiply fractions, you can reduce first. So I would reduce the 2, and the 10 becomes a 5. And so this is really now 3 times 5 is 15 over 1. So I'm just going to leave it as 15 minus 13. And b is would equal 2. And that is the answer. This is really fast if you know the rules. Like literally every one of these things is just like, oh, yep, y-intercepts or b's, flip it and reverse it, plug the point in. Like each step is really obvious if you know the rules. But if you haven't spent that time memorizing those things, you're going to have a lot of places where you're just hitting hurdles and obstacles because lines come up a lot on the SAT. And if you don't know them, you're going to feel like you're lost. If you do know them, then you can blitz through those questions and then have a lot more time for the stuff that isn't lines that tends to be a little bit harder. Memorize your rules and your properties for linear equations.